answering your biggest nutrition struggles. So if you are subscribed to my newsletter, you'll know that one of the first things I ask you on there is to tell me your number one nutrition struggle. What is really the hardest for you, what you struggle the most with when it comes to nutrition and healthy eating. And I really try to reply to each email individually, and I think I've done a pretty good job with that. But today I thought I'd share some of these struggles so that in this video other people can get answers, because a lot of the struggles are pretty similar. So I'm just going to be reading a few of the struggles and answering. I'm going to give a quick answer to these questions, and then also I'm going to redirect you to a video that addresses the issue more in depth if I have that on hand, if I've made a video on that already. So this person says, what I'm struggling with concerning nutrition is that I have some overeating episodes where I feel full physically but not mentally. So that's definitely something that I feel that a lot of people can relate with. And I think that the first thing that you need to know is that feeling full needs to take into account both physical fullness and also emotional fullness. If you only rely on your physical fullness, then you're never going to be satisfied with your meals, and then that's when you can experience kind of binge eating episodes to try to satisfy that emotional craving. So it's totally fine to, even if you're like physically full, to try to eat a little bit more in order to get to that emotional satisfaction. But it's also very important that your meals that you eat are meals that you actually really enjoy eating, because obviously if you're eating like white rice and broccoli and chicken with like no seasoning, no flavor, no nothing, everything is like dry and tasteless, even if you eat a ton of it, you're never going to feel emotionally satisfied with that. So you both need to make sure that your meals are satisfying. Maybe add in a delicious sauce that you like, or a topping that you like, or some nuts or whatever, like a peanut butter thing, whatever you want to make that a little bit more satisfying to you. And also make sure that your meal also has an emotional satisfying component to it, like maybe finish it off with a cookie or like some ice cream or a can of like your favorite soda, whatever, something that will really get you to that emotional satisfaction. The more you do this on a regular basis, the smaller the difference is going to be between your physical hunger and your emotional hunger, like meaning when your physical hunger is satisfied, your emotional hunger is likely going to be pretty much satisfied at the same time as well. So if you do want to go more in depth into this, I have a video called The Difference Between like Physical and Emotional Hunger. I'll link it in the description. So another struggle we have here is a person who says, I want to find a way to incorporate more fruit and veggies, or find a way to enjoy them more. So it can be a struggle when you've been told all your life that healthy foods don't taste good, and you feel like only unhealthy foods taste good, because that's really not true. And fruit and veggies, they can absolutely be a delicious addition to your meals. So first of all, I would encourage you to make a list of the fruit or veggies that you actually do like, because I see this with clients all the time. They tell me, I like no fruit and veggies, I like only like one or two, and that's it. And then actually go through a list of fruit and veggies with them, and they find out that there's a lot more than they thought that they actually like. And so once you have a few that you like, or at least, somewhat tolerate, then make sure to include them in a rotation pretty often, and to include them in like with other foods that you really enjoy. So let's say that for veggies you're okay with like zucchini, and one of your favorite foods is like spaghetti. Maybe you can add a few zoodles, so zucchini noodles, to your spaghetti. Not saying to replace them, absolutely not, just add them on top of that, like mix them in, and that way you'll get in some veggies without really noticing it that much. Another way to eat more fruit and veggies is to sneak them in. So let's say that you're making a smoothie with like protein powder and milk and nut butter, so almond butter, peanut butter, whatever. Then you can maybe sneak in a banana or some spinach or some berries, something that will get in some of the fruit or veggie intake, but you won't really feel it as much. I'm sure you can make a very delicious bowl of like yogurt and granola and top it off with some blueberries and still make that absolutely delicious, and you're getting in some antioxidants. So you can figure out ways that work for you to incorporate more fruit and veggies in that way. And again, I'm sure that there are way more fruit and veggies that you think that you actually enjoy. So it's also just a question of getting used to it. If you make a goal of including at least one fruit and or veggie a day, then you can increase that as time goes on. Then you'll get used to it little by little, and before you know it, you're gonna be eating a bunch of fruit and veggies. And if you want more information on that, I have a video on how to eat vegetables if you hate them in the description. So this person left a very long struggle. I'm just gonna kind of sum it up. She says, one thing I struggle with is the meal planning. I get very overwhelmed. I feel like I should be cooking all vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, but then when I do, my kids hardly eat it. So there are a few parts to this struggle. First of all, you do not need to be cooking any type of way, specific, vegan, gluten-free, whatever, healthified is the trending diet right now. You do not need to be doing that. You just need to make sure that you are focusing mainly on foods that are more whole foods, whole grains, legumes, fruit and vegetables, all of that. But that doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can cook. You can totally incorporate foods that are more processed. For instance, if you say that your kids will only eat chicken nuggets, you can totally still serve chicken nuggets. Just make sure that you have some sort of veggie with that, and then maybe some brown pasta to go along with that. Maybe that's something that will sound good to them. I think that we can really get overwhelmed when we focus on wanting to do something perfect, and then it can be the enemy of you just trying to do something good enough. So for now, just focus on good enough. Just make sure that you are creating a mix of foods that they will eat and that they will enjoy, but that you're also incorporating a few more whole foods items into the mix, and without pressuring them to eat anything, without forcing them to eat anything, but just trying to encourage them, just put the food on the plate along with all the other food. Don't tell them oh, you can only have your chicken nuggets if you finished your broccoli. Don't do that. Just put everything on the plate, let them kind of explore, and sometimes you need to introduce a food multiple times before kids will actually eat it. So that's kind of for the kid department. And if you're more interested in learning about how to get kids to eat healthily, I have a video about that. I'll put it in the description. And then for the meal planning aspect, you have to keep things simple as well. You don't necessarily want to meal prep everything, have everything ready, or know exactly what you're going to make with what ingredients, to make sure that you have everything, if that is a little bit too overwhelming. The way that I would do it is just to have general ideas of meals that you like, that your kids will like, and that have a certain balance of whole foods and also processed foods to make things easier and quicker, and just have these meal ideas somewhere on a list on your fridge or something, and make sure that when you grocery shop, you get all the ingredients for all the different meals, and then when it's time to eat, you can just kind of choose from whatever you feel like eating, whatever your kids feel like eating, whatever they that they will or will not eat at this time, and just do a little mix of these things. But again, make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself wanting to make this perfect meal with only 100% whole ingredients. That will just put unnecessary stress. Just do the best you can with what you have. Again, a mixture of what you like, the kids like, and what is healthy. So another struggle is someone saying, my main struggle with nutrition has been how to lose weight with consistency. For example, yesterday I ate really healthy all day, and by nighttime I felt like something was missing, so I ate a chocolate bar and then I felt horrible, and the cycle goes on and on. If you are not enjoying the meals that you are eating, the healthy, balanced meals that you are eating, then you are inevitably going to binge, and you are going to feel like something is missing, and you're gonna go for the chocolate bar and have way too much of it. And that's not a problem of willpower, that's not a you problem, it's just a problem of your needs not being met. Maybe your physical needs are met and you're getting in your nutrients, but if you're not emotionally satisfied, if you don't find the foods that you're eating pleasurable, then it's never going to be sustainable. So you have to make sure that the foods that you are eating are actually enjoyable to you. Make sure that you eat 70% of your meals from both foods that you love and that are healthy, and then sprinkle in a few treats, and you'll see that as time goes on, you won't have this urge to eat all this chocolate all the time. And I also suggest that you do some work to let go of the all or nothing mentality, because it sounds like you're in it a little bit. It's either you eat super healthy or you binge on chocolate, and that's not reality. Reality is, again, being able to do these things in moderation, having a little bit of chocolate, having balanced meals that you actually enjoy, and doing that all the time, without having periods of time where you eat only healthy and periods of time where you eat like bad. So there are multiple videos that can help with this issue that you're having. Make sure to check out my video on the all or nothing mentality, again in the description, how to get out of that, and maybe my video on how to stay motivated with healthy eating can also help you, again in the description as well. So this person says, I'm struggling with portion size and snacking. I feel like my portions are large and I like to snack just for the sake of it. So I know that portion sizes can be a big struggle for a lot of people, and I think that the main issue is that you are relying too much on like outside regulations when it comes to portion sizes. You're trying to like look at serving sizes, look at what you should be eating, trying to like measure how much you should be eating, rather than turning to your internal cues in order to figure out the portion sizes that are right for you, like your body. I think this should be in like two parts. First thing, you need to get familiar with actual portion sizes. Sure, if you feel like you can't trust your body to intuitively tell you how much you should be eating, get familiar with what a serving size is like, try to test out different techniques, try to test out different portions and see how you feel after eating like more or less. And then once you feel like you have this general notion about like calories and portion sizes, how much you technically should be eating, and then it's super crucial that you dive deeper into mindful and intuitive eating, and that you learn to honor the signals that your body is giving you. And so basically every time your body tells you that it's hungry, if you're able to identify that signal and if you're able to eat and show your body that you are actually listening to what it's telling you, that's great. But then you also need to do the counterpart, which is you need to stop when your body tells you that it's full, obviously. And if you really learn to do that, then you are going to figure out the portion sizes that work for you. But I do understand that it takes a little bit of time, and I do have an entire video on portion sizes to help you get to that point in the description. So another struggle I have here is a person saying, I struggle with eating sweets when I am stressed. My work gets very stressful and I find myself eating a lot of candy. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that your meals that you're eating, like outside of the candy that you're stress eating, are healthy, balanced meals that you actually enjoy. This is going to be kind of the common theme throughout these answers to these struggles. If you make sure that you actually enjoy the meals that you are eating, then that's a good start to not crave all this candy when you're stressed. And by enjoy the meals, I do mean that you can have some ice cream for dessert, or like a cookie, or have like some pizza. Balance that out in a way that I explained earlier, in a way that I explained in a bunch of other videos. And that way you're, again, less likely to reach for that candy, because you're going to be satisfied when it comes to food and your cravings. Now, there is another part to this, another component, and I absolutely do understand that food can be a coping mechanism when you're stressed. It can be a way to deal with certain emotions. That's totally normal. That's something that a lot of people do. Even babies do it. It's 100% normal. Now, the only thing that it can't be is the only way for you to deal with your stress or your emotions. So what I would encourage you to do is to find other ways to deal with your emotions than eating. And you have to really think about this. Try to make a little list of things that kind of relieve your stress levels. Maybe it's like scrolling on TikTok, or listening to your favorite music and like dancing, or calling like your favorite person, or walking your dog, or whatever. It can be a multitude of different things. And then you have to try to rewire your brain from associating like a stressful situation to food in order to get relief, and try to associate it with something else. Like, okay, I'm stressed, maybe I can like watch this TV show and then feel less stressed, and I don't necessarily need to eat every single time I'm stressed. Now, this takes work, of course, and I really encourage you to watch the video that I made on emotional eating and eating when stressed. They will be linked in the description, and I think that it will be very helpful to you. So another struggle here is a person saying that she struggles with eating in moderation because everything tastes amazing. So eating everything in moderation is kind of my life motto, like that and balance, which is kind of the same thing when you think about it, because I absolutely do think that you can eat absolutely everything, but you can't eat everything at the same time and in like huge quantities all the time. So here she's saying that everything tastes so good, and that's wonderful. Food should taste good. It's there to keep you alive and to give you nutrients. So it's wonderful if you think that food tastes good. And I just want you to take some time to make a list of all of the foods that you feel taste good, and then make a list of all of the foods that you feel are healthy, and find which foods intersect. And you should try to be eating 70% of your meals from that intersection. So make it like a little Venn diagram, and you'll find that there are a bunch of foods that are healthy and that you think taste amazing. And then you can absolutely have room for some foods that aren't really healthy, but that just taste amazing. And when I say moderation, I mean that these foods shouldn't be like more than about 20% of your diet. And then the rest of the 10% can be like for healthy foods that you don't love, but you know, you still sometimes gotta eat. And so focusing on finding that like right ratio can make sure that you are enjoying most of your meals, and that you're also on top of that adding foods that are like a little extra special treat that you can enjoy solely for the purpose of it satisfying your emotional cravings and giving you like pleasure and joy from that food. Moderation can also look like having your favorite pizza night on like Friday night, but then making sure that your breakfast and lunch for Friday are filled with more whole foods and plenty of fruit and vegetables and fiber. And it can also be like if you want to go out on Tuesday and have a bunch of like appetizers and drinks, then make sure that the following Wednesday you hydrate with plenty of water, and again that you eat plenty of fiber and a bunch of like fruit and veggies, whole grains, and protein. And then finally, if you feel like you can't do that, if you feel like every time you eat something that's like really tasty, you can't eat it in moderation and you just eat way too much, it's maybe because you are restricting that thing too much. And even if there's like mental restriction, even if you're allowing yourself to eat it physically, if mentally you're telling yourself, I shouldn't be eating this is bad, and then feel guilty for it, you're not gonna get that satisfaction from it, and then you're gonna end up craving it more and then eating more and getting on that like binge restrict cycle. So make sure that you also address this and that you are able to fully enjoy the treats that you eat, and that you don't feel guilty when you do so. And I have a whole video on how to eat in moderation right here. So I'm gonna do one final struggle for today, and I'm gonna go with this person saying that her biggest struggle is making sure that she has a proper protein intake. So I'm going with this one because I know that that's a big issue that so many people bring up to me, like clients that I work with and people like in my comments. And I think that there is this general idea that protein is like the superior macronutrient and that we are not getting enough of it and that we really need to make sure to eat more of it. But in reality, in like Western countries, we are definitely getting enough protein, and most people are actually getting too much protein. And I think that maybe the confusion stems from the fact that protein is the only macronutrient that can't be stored. So that's why it's important that you get enough every day. That's absolutely true, but with what we're eating in general, with what the Western diet is like, you are more likely getting enough. You definitely need a protein source with every meal, but the thing is that protein is in way more foods than people realize. I feel like you can get 16 grams of protein from a serving of whole wheat pasta. And if you add like cheese on top of that, you can really get a huge amount of protein from just like pasta and cheese. Just make sure that you're eating plenty of beans, lentils, tofu if you like that, or like mock vegan sources of protein like vegan meats. You can eat eggs if you like that. You can eat fish if you like that. Chicken if you like that. And then there are a bunch of whole grains that have a good amount of protein. Like oats is one that people don't really know about. So if you're having oatmeal in the morning, if you're having some milk with that and like some nut butter with that, you're already getting a bunch of protein, and that's really good. So I think that instead of hyper focusing on getting enough protein, you should just be focusing on making your meals balanced and enjoyable to you. And unless you have a very specific way of eating, like for instance, if you're a vegan, yes, you do need to be a little bit more aware of eating enough protein, but again, that's like a very easy thing to do on a vegan diet. It's just that you just need to be aware. And usually vegans are pretty good at getting the required protein intake. And if you want more information on protein, how much you need, etc., I have a video on that in the description. That's it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you want me to do more, let me know and I can absolutely do more. I still have a whole list of struggles of people that I can make videos about, and don't hesitate to leave your struggles in the comments, and don't hesitate to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe, and see you on my next one. Bye!